Alright, for this problem, we're looking at a table. Again, they like to put these problems on the AP test a lot. And we're trying to find the derivative of this function at x equals -1. So we want to find the derivative of this function. Notice that we have a function of x times on the top. So we have f of x minus g of x. That's a function of x. We also have a function of x on the bottom. So we have the quotient rule because we have a function of x divided by a function of x. So if we set up the quotient rule, we need to look at u and we need to look at v. So the top is f of x minus g of x. And the bottom is 2f of x. So when I find the derivative of the top, remember because they're being subtracted, you just find the derivative of each of them individually and subtract their derivatives. So the derivative of f of x minus g of x is just f prime of x minus g prime of x. And the derivative of the bottom, that 2 is just a constant that's being multiplied, so that's the constant multiple rule, which just says that the 2 tags along for the ride, so we're just looking for the derivative of f of x. So it's actually 2 times f prime of x. So when we multiply backwards first. So 2 f of x, and actually I'm going to do ourselves a favor, hopefully. Now that we've gotten to this point, we've had a lot of practice with tables. Rather than actually writing out the entire thing, I'm just going to plug in the numbers now because I think it's easier to multiply numbers that are simplified rather than multiplying a bunch of f of x's and f prime of x's. I think it might be easier to make a mistake if we leave it right like this. So what I'm going to do is in blue, I'm actually going to simplify these so that we can help ourselves out. So we're evaluating at -1, so I'm just going to plug in -1 everywhere. So f of -1 minus g of -1. Let's see, f of -1 is -2. And g of -1 is 4. So that's -2 minus 4, or -6. Down here we have 2 times f of -1. So 2 times -2, which is -4. Over here we have f prime of -1 minus g prime of -1. So that's f prime of -1 is e. G prime of -1 is -3. So that's e minus a -3. Or in other words, e plus 3. And last but not least, we have 2 times f prime of -1, so 2 times e. So now if we multiply, it'll be a little bit easier because we don't have to worry about all those symbols and signs and everything like that. We can just multiply the values together. So I'm going to multiply this way first. So -4 times e plus 3. So I'll just write h prime of -1 equals. So it's the derivative of the top times the bottom. -4 times e plus 3. Now don't forget that quotient rule says that we have to subtract. So we're going to subtract now. And then we'll multiply the other way. So now I'm going to multiply like this. So I have 2e times -6. So 2e times -6. And then don't forget that's all over the bottom squared. So since the bottom is -4, that's all over -4 squared. So if I want to simplify this, I can distribute the -4, I can multiply that out, I can multiply this out. So over here I get -4e minus 12. Right here I get positive 12e. And on the bottom when I square -4 I get 16. So if I combine like terms, -4e plus 12e is 8e minus 12 all over 16. And then notice that all of these terms have a 4 in common, so I can divide all of them by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. So when I rewrite this as my final answer, I get 2e minus 3 divided by 4, which is D.